Moving on to question 2. How effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary tasks? I believe that my main products and ancillary tasks share a lot of similarities in terms of media language and work well together to create a persuasive brand image that is appealing to my target audience, and also a brand image that will be recognized easily by my target audience regardless of the medium they are viewing. As I've mentioned earlier, I kept some features of my media language similar across all of my products so that it would create and preserve my brand image. For example, I've kept the following the same or very similar on my magazine, billboard and website. I used Alexas that reflected the Cornish region and Alexas that would suitably formal for my target audience. I used a colour palette that reflects the Cornish colours and also genre colours. I used breathtaking surfing photography for each product. I used typography that was big and bold and that also convinced my target audience that this was a product for a youth market. And finally, I've used a stylish layout that follows across all of my products. Another way that I linked all my products together is through putting the brand logo on my front cover, double page spread, contents page, billboard and website to make sure that my audience know that that is the brand logo, and if they ever see that logo anywhere, they know what brand the products are associated with. In short, when I view all of my products side by side, I am confident and happy that they all clearly look like they belong to the same brand. However, if I was going to prove one aspect of my work, I think it would be my double page spread because of the products. I think this is the one that I have designed more creatively, as currently, although it follows surf magazine conventions, it does not look as original as my other pieces of work. Having said this, you can clearly see that all of my products link together because of their colour palette, fonts used, and also because of the fact that they have the brand logo on them. What have you learned from your audience feedback? Regarding question 3, what have I learned from my audience feedback? The feedback I received from my audience at various stages of planning and production has had a very big impact on both the construction process and the planning stages of my products, as I wanted to make sure that I was acting on my feedback in order to represent and attract my target audience successfully. I used the online program SilvaEvaluationP3 to create all of my surveys, as this program let me create a 10-question survey and post it on social media or email it to specific people quickly and effectively, as my young target audience are more likely to see it on social media, as this is something they use daily. By using SilvaEvaluationP3, the first thing I was able to find out was what my target audience demographics was, and was able to figure out that my magazine would need to appeal to people in social grades C1 to E and between the ages of 15 to 27. My primary target audience will also be both males and females. This is because I want to be able to appeal to as many people as possible and not restrict my product to a specific gender. Additionally, I learned from my primary audience research that my audience would want to read my magazine for the following reasons that link with Bloomer and Cat's uses and gratification theory, information, entertainment and socialization. To gain a better understanding of what media language and content would represent and attract my target audience, I also created additional surveys concerning my main and ancillary tasks so that I could get a rough understanding of what my target audience wanted to see and what would appeal most to them when looking at my magazine. There were a variety of questions that I asked on these surveys, but the most frequent question asked across all my surveys was to find out more about colour palettes and stereotypes that my target audience would find appealing to them, so that therefore I knew whether or not I should incorporate these into my products. I also asked questions about the surveyor's hobbies, other lifestyle aspects, and finally about what they would find appealing on a regional magazine, so that I could gain some knowledge of what would be best for my magazine. As I said earlier, my audience feedback also influenced my decisions concerning colour palette, masthead and imagery. Furthermore, it was my initial SilvaEvaluationP3 results in the planning stages that influenced my decision to make a regional surfing magazine as opposed to a stereotypical classic regional magazine, as more people said they would be interested in a surf lifestyle magazine. My final audience research that I conducted after I had completed my final drafts of my practical products confirmed that I had made a successful job of listening to my target audience regarding my print products, as 80% of those surveyed said that they would buy my magazine if I launched it. 100% said they liked the photography, 100% said they thought the colour palette was right for the genre and audience, 70% said the typography was right for the genre and audience, 70% said they liked the content, and 80% said they liked the masthead. Regarding my website, I think I had made a good job of this, considering it was my first attempt at making a product in this medium, and I learned from my final survey that my audience agreed, as 100% said they would view my website if I launched it, 100% said they liked the imagery, 80% said they liked the content analysis, and 70% said they liked the layout and how the site would be navigated. Also, 100% of people surveyed said they thought the products worked well together to create a recognizable brand image. From this final feedback, it is clear to see that the target audience felt represented by my media and language choices, which proves listening to my audience throughout the planning stages helped me to create a product that would appeal to my target audience. However, I've also learned that there are some areas I can improve on in the future, such as my website design and layout skills and my article writing skills. I'll make these targets as I move on to my degree next year. How did you use media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? As Gauntlet said in 2002, digital technology advances now mean that anyone has the power and potential to become a producer and distributor of media products. I think that because I have learned how to use Photoshop, InDesign and Dreamweaver, and to a lesser extent iMovie for editing this evaluation to make professional looking products, and because I have used Blogger, Flame, YouTube and social media to distribute my products, I have proved what Gauntlet has said is true. If I had been a student 10 years ago, I don't think my products would have looked anywhere near as professional as the ones I have made, as I would not have been able to afford the 300mm Canon lenses or film to get the professional looking surf shots I needed, and would not have been able to afford any of the editing programs I've used. Also, digital technology would not have been as advanced 10 years ago as it is today, which would have made it harder for me to use the internet to get my products to a real audience. In other words, digital technology has helped me during every stage of production to make professional products. Before getting onto production, I used the internet to research existing magazines. This made me look a lot without having to buy them, which meant my products were more professional, as I would not have been able to buy lots of magazines to look at. I then used Blogger and Pinterest to digital store my research, and this gave me easy access to my work anywhere, which meant I could keep researching whenever I needed to, whether I was planning or on a shoot. I had used Blogger and Pinterest before, but this year think I made better use of them, as I had a better understanding of how to add images and use other features to make my blog look more professional and my boards more visually interesting. Overall, I think that compared to AS, I have adapted a lot of skills as a media student and progressed a lot from last year. Although these skills aren't major, they are skills that I needed to adapt to if I was to get the best grade possible and to the best of my ability. One skill that I needed to get better at is as simple as blogging and researching. This is an important part of my final product, as I needed to research specific things that would help my products look as professional and appeal to my target audience as much as possible. Blogger helps with the planning stages of my products, as it is a way of keeping everything in order neatly, and also it is an excellent way of showing your research. Last year my blog and planning let me down a little bit because I didn't really understand how to use it, and therefore meant that things were in the correct order and were hard to understand. The research side of my products was also done to a poor standard because I didn't really understand the value of thorough research. However, this year I was desperate to improve on this due to the grade that I got at the end of last year. I used Blogger to present my planning and included a variety of images, text and web links. I also used different forms of presenting my work, such as ThingLink. ThingLink lets you annotate an image by writing on the image and having it specifically where you want it. Also, in terms of primary research, just like last year, I needed to do a lot of research to try and make my products appeal to my target audience as much as possible. I used two different forms of research. These were primary and secondary. For my primary, I created a survey on SilvaEvaluationP3 and uploaded it on social media in order to get my survey answered. I did share this on social media because of the age ranges on there, as it is similar age range that I am targeting on my products. I didn't really learn anything new with SurveyMonkey, as I had used it last year. The difference this time was that I used it more frequently, and this helped me get more specific results, which in the long run made my final products be much better. For my secondary research, I used the internet to have access to the correct information and information that was reliable. One main aspect that let me down last year was the fact that not all of my information was from a reliable source, and therefore it wasn't the correct information. However, I think that this year I've improved on this and made sure that all my information came from a reliable source. When it came to the production, the main skills I had to learn were shooting dramatic surf action shots on the 5D and 6D Canon cameras using the right lens. In general, I think that the images that I've chosen to use and that I have taken are significantly better than my AS images, because I took more time to organise my shoots so that it would ensure that I could get what I wanted, and also done a lot more shoots compared to last year. This year I had a lot more shoots because of the fact that the genre of my magazine was surfing, and therefore I wouldn't have an indoor shoot. This meant that I didn't always get the images I wanted to have at a shoot due to lighting and weather on that day. This is the opposite of last year, as all of my images were taken in the studio then, and I wasn't so dependent on how the lighting and weather was. Also, this year I did not settle for any images that looked okay. If they did not look professional and to a very high standard, then I would not use them. This decision was down to the fact that I think the images I used last year weren't to a high standard, and therefore concluded that that was what my final grade down. When it came to the post-production, just like last year, I used Photoshop to edit my images and used tutorials to learn how to get the best results from things such as adjusting the brightness, tone and contrast image. I think that last year my Photoshop skills were to a decent standard. This is because I had already been taught how to use the program during GCSE media, and therefore knew how to use specific tools on there such as cropping, opacity, colour changing, erasing and text tools. But I think I learned more about this year. Overall, I'm glad that I did print again this year, as I think that my work looks professional as I have developed my Photoshop skills, and therefore it meant that I could do more to my images and make them look better so that they could be more eye-catching to my target audience. Once I had edited my images in InDesign to add text and create professional layouts, again I had used this last year, but I think I got more competent with the program this year, which resulted in more professional looking print work. Unlike last year, this year I had to make a website to go with my print work. This meant learning how to use a program that was new to me, which was Dreamweaver. I found this program difficult to start with, as you had to learn how to work with code, not just be creative like you are in Photoshop and InDesign. However, I'm really happy with my final website and think that 30+ hours I have spent on it were worth it, as I not only have a professional website, but I know how to build a site through adding images and text, and know how to purchase a domain name and get a site online. Finally, just like last year, I used the Canon 600D to film my evaluation, and then used iMedia to edit it before putting it on YouTube and embedding it as Vlogger. I didn't find any of this difficult last year, as I found discussing about my work and editing the evaluation straightforward and enjoyable. Just like last year, I didn't find the discussion and editing difficult, as I was confident with all aspects of creating and distributing my evaluation.